Thanks for coming out.
So this movie is fun to watch everywhere, but I imagine watching it with a New York audience does it hit different?
Yeah, definitely. And we had one of our premieres here in the city, and we just, yeah, it was very, very different. It was a lot of theater going crowd and like people in the theater industry, and it was remarkable actually to get to share this period of John's life and his story, you know, in the city that shaped him, in the city that he was bashing his head against, trying to get, you know, noticed and accepted and seen and welcomed, and a city that he would ultimately become a really important strand in the history and the fabric of, and change the face of musical theatre forever in this very city down in the New York Theatre Workshop. And then, of course, on the Broadway with Rent, and now with his legacy continues through this film, hopefully. And it's it's a pretty beautiful thing. It really is, and it is such a New York story. He is such a New York man. He was revolutionary, you know. He was a rebel and true artist warrior. So he fits this place.
Also, the line, nobody's happy either, just resonates. Take us back to the very beginning. How did Tick Tick Boom land on your radar?
I've told the story more. There's a person called Greg Miele. He's a massage therapist in New York, and he's one of my best friends. And he works on me. He works on Lynn. It's heavy work. You come out hating him, feeling like a newborn baby all at once. And Greg, my brother, and Lynn was at the table one day, and he asked if I could sing, and Greg immediately lied and said yes I could, and then called me straight after and left and said, hey buddy, can you sing? And I said, oh god, what have you done? And then I sat with Lynn at lunch. He came and helped and did a Q&A with me and Tony Kushner for Angels of America, who were doing that on Broadway at the time. And Lynn basically said, this isn't going to make sense to you now, but I promise you it will. And he slid over the musical lyrics of Tick Tick Boom. But when I heard that Lynn wanted to do something with me, it was kind of one of those immediate yeses. Because I had no idea what it was, but I knew that if Lynn was interested in making something, that it was going to have certain qualities, that it was going to be incredibly smart, deeply emotional, funny, joyful, heart-rending, and the kind of stories that I want to tell. And he's an artist that I've, like the majority of the world at this point have been in admiration of. And at that time I was at the height of my Hamilton obsession. So all the lyrics on the subway, I was just like, I was in that show in my imagination. But so then it was an immediate yes, and then it was a very deep yes when he started teaching me about Jonathan Larson. I felt like he was reuniting me with a long-lost brother that I didn't realize I had, a brother in art, and someone who I wanted to apprentice to, and someone who I wanted to be as brave as, and as courageous as, and the thing that's so remarkably moving about this film and this story is that it's a story of failure, it's a story of not success. It's a story of rejection and carrying on and starting right in the next one anyway. And I don't think we have many of those stories in the culture to look to. We usually kind of just idolize the Tom Brady's of the world. I'm way I don't care about rock and roll, but it's like, I don't know why. I just met with someone and said he was talking about Tom Brady. I was like, why are you talking? She's a brilliant actress, and she was like, I read Tom Brady's biography. I was like, why would you do that? I wanted to know why he's been able to have the longest career of any. Like, he's playing football into his 40s. This is like an old legendary actor, so I won't tell you who it is. But depending on that character. and she was blah, blah, blah. I'm digressing. The question was, where was I?
Actually, John, about that.
Please.
Watching the movie is that the audience knows that Jonathan Larson does go on to write a great American musical, but he obviously does not know that the whole movie. As an actor, how do you play that, knowing he actually does go on to success?
Yeah, so okay, thank you. You brought me back on track. Anyway, Tom Brady. The fact Jonathan got up every single morning in the face of rejection and failure and sat at the piano anyway and just pushed through all the doubt, all of the oppression, all of the ignorance, all of the kind of the foolishness of the culture. He was the salmon swimming upstream, and I find it so deeply moving that he never got to see dies in the night before the first fucking preview, and the poetic tragedy of that. And like it reminds me of someone, it's like Van Gogh, who was told he was nuts and told that he was just kind of an idiot for painting the way he painted, but decided every morning just to fucking put pen to paper and left the world richer because of it, and never got to receive his own harvest, never got to receive or see any of the validation or adulation. I find that so moving, and I don't know if I would have the strength. Like, I find it so deeply inspiring. So in terms of playing it, I think we've all, probably in this room, been in this position at some point in our artistic lives, or is yet to come. Yay. But it's a rite of passage. It's an initiatory kind of ritual that we all have to go to make sure that we are serious about this thing that we might feel called towards doing with our lives, like a vocation. And obviously John felt it as a spiritual vocation, a spiritual calling. I feel that way with storytelling, making film and theatre as well. And I had my year and a half in the desert of 5 odd jobs at once, not being able to book any auditions, and working as a talent marketer and as a Starbucks barista, and just kind of like rehearsing monologues in my bedroom at night and looking at the ceiling, wondering if I was ever going to be able to, be a part of things that I really, really cared about. And the fact, I think to answer your question, it's like, I think he did unconsciously know. This is just my interpretation, obviously, I may be totally off the mark, but I think he did unconsciously know that he didn't have a lot of time. I think that there was a line in the original Tick Tick Boom that had to be cut after he passed, because it was far too heartbreaking. And the line was, sometimes I feel like my heart's going to explode. And that's obviously what ended up happening with his aortic aneurysm. So what I love and what I find fascinating, terrifying, kind of cosmic about this film is that it's a man trying to figure out what this ticking is, genuinely trying to figure out what it is, and he's trying to kind of rationalize it with, I'm turning 30, I'm everything. It's my girlfriend's biological clock, or it's this, it's that, but actually the ticking keeps ticking, the calling keeps calling, and there's this primordial thing that's happening. And I believe, if you watch him perform bwaySHO, which is the original name of the one show on YouTube, you can now see. If you watch him perform bwaySHO, he is fighting for his life. And fighting for the life of every person in his community who is being affected by the AIDS crisis. And it's everything turned up to 11. So I feel like the theatre gods, the theatre muses, did not let him sleep, did not let him rest. Gave him anxiety disorders to keep him awake so that he could get as much of his song into the world as possible before his short window was closed. And, a part of that is it's like they knew that he had rent inside of him and he needed to give it. He needed to give it to the world and leave us with his opus. And they knew he didn't have a lot of time, and that was what the ticking was. Anyway, that's just an idea.
You mentioned watching the first scene song and talked about just being able to watch old interviews and movies. That was that something that you felt helpful when you were preparing, just being able to look at his videos and watch them perform?
Yeah, very much so. And that was a big part of it. That was a big key for me. And there's video of him in the diner. There's video of him in his apartment. There's an amazing video of him filming his apartment for a potential insurance claim. He's afraid it's going to be an electrical fire, and he wanted to make sure he documented he was an erotic dude. It's so funny. Like he's like talking to his sister Julie, and he's kind of saying, this is going to happen, I'm going to die, and no one's going to, you can be my girl, and all this stuff. and he's just incredibly funny with it, but also like deeply like scared and erotic. And so yeah, but there's so much footage of him, and people were lining up around the blog to talk to us about him. You know, people from obviously his sister Julie, who's one of our producers, and a living kind of history book, from us and from her, so the person that lost their virginity to it back in college. The stories of people like that, and like, it was like, kind of useful. It was all turned up to 11 all the time. Until he was stoned, like, I think he needed weed, like, I think he really needed it. And he got Steve Sondheim stoned for the first time in Sondheim's time. He gave Sondheim his first joint. So there's so much. I have a lot of information. But I had a year.
It's ready to tell all of them.
Yeah, all the dish on JL. But I had access to all this, and I had a year to just kind of immerse myself into who he was. So by the time we got onto set, and that's always the intention, by the time you get onto stage or onto set, you let go, you get out of the way, and you let the character run free and be alive and be present and spontaneous and listen and have it be different every take or every night. And I had the luxury of doing that because John and the fact that he was such an impulsive, spontaneous, wild, kind of agitprop kind of theatre guy, but also because Lynn and Manuel really set up an environment of freedom of play and really wanted everyone to show up in a way that was kind of wild and kind of, like a bunch of musical theatre kids getting together and making a movie.
It's hard to imagine this being Lin-Manuel Miranda's first movie
That's
because
wild.
he's so accomplished in everything he does. But what would surprise people about what it's like to work with him?
Yeah. I don't know if this would surprise people, but it surprised me, especially if you look at the complexity and genius, intellectual, emotional layering and depth of his work. It's like you're making a film with your 7-year-old friend from primary school who just wants to show you Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles backpack and lunch pail. And is just so happy to be there every day. It's literally like you're in a playground with your best buddy, and you can do no wrong, which is remarkable because you kind of go, how do you magically just does this stuff just happen? Just like, did you write Hamilton, or like what's the deal? Who are you protecting? Who are you changing your basement? It's like a Shakespeare thing. It's like, did Shakespeare actually write his plays, or was it like a kind of coven of witches or something? It has a coven of witches somewhere, in Heights. Yeah, it's pretty weird. That's going to be a towel. I should have given that away. No, it really is like just being with your best buddy, and again, the thing that, again, this isn't really surprising, but it's beautiful and a rare gift in a director, I find, when they want you to lead your own work, when they want you to bring all of your own unique talent and gifts and expression to the role, or to for any person, any role in our film. That's the sign of a truly confident director for me. And it's very, very rare, especially in a first-time director, which we can't really consider him as because he is this elemental kind of genius that we get to be alive with while he's alive.
And he put a ton of Easter eggs in this movie for Rent fans, for musical theater fans. Do you have a favorite little nod or reference that he snuck in the movie, maybe one that audiences have missed on first watch?
There's so many, we started to find places together. Like for instance, one that comes to mind, which I love, made it in, is just before the fight with Susan, where I'm trying to write this goddamn song that I can't seem to find, and I'm riffing on the kind of the melody for One Song Glory that will end up being one of the great songs in Rent, and I just like stuff like that where you're like, how cool would it be just to kind of like just tip the cap in those ways, and calling Robin's character, Michael Pookie, you know, it's things like that, like silly little kind of, that one song, because that song means so much to me, it was a big part of lots of my preparation in terms of certain scenes in the film as well. So I love that we get to kind of like, that maybe he was going to write that song that like if the fight hadn't happened. I don't know, this guy's just kind of cool.
So this movie has so many fun musical numbers. I wanted to talk about some of them. I'm particularly intimidated by before camera started rolling.
I mean, every single one, yeah. Because I'd never sung before professionally, and I never played piano, and I never done choreography, and all of those things. So of course, and I thank God I had a lot of time to prepare, and we rehearsed a lot, and then gave me all the resources I needed. But every single one had its own little thread of terror laced in, like a poisonous kind of dart that was going to get me at some point. 3090 is just a runaway train where you have to figure out where to breathe, and you have to somehow be in control of this kind of rocking Billy Joel kind of steam train. That took a lot of just effort and work, and we did it so many times on the day, and I think I had started to lose my voice by the end of the day, and you kind of start to hear that. But yeah, I mean, but ultimately so fun to get under your belt. And then, the dancing in No More was, especially the last piece in the lobby of the hotel, which is super slow-mo, and we're in tuxedos, and it's that whole choreographed number. But imagine that ramped up double speed, that's what we were doing. It didn't feel like it was going to work, because it was just too fast and too complex. But yeah, we like 21 takes, and like 2 of them were okay. And I remember turning to Robin and Lindy, like, let's do one more, let's do one more. And Robin said, "Boo, I think you can just stop." And then it's like, we got it. I was like, one more, and I think we did one more, and I dropped Robin, and I was like, oh, probably stop. But then I think the most intimidating was Why, the song Why, which I sing in the in Central Park, that solo, because it's the emotional kind of nadir of the film, Jonathan's journey. And the song is so beautiful, and it has to feel improvised, it has to feel made up and spontaneous, and it has to be a way of working through this moment of terrible grief and an integration of potential loss. It's such a complicated emotional thing to enter, combined with the question of what am I supposed to do with the rest of my life. It's just this whole ritual that Jonathan goes through during the course of a made-up song in the middle of Central Park under the stars and the moonlight, and I have to figure out what to do with the rest of my life and how you all living, and meet the grief in a moment, while singing live. And I saw the schedule that then showed me before we started filming, and I noticed it was scheduled for the first week.
Oh.
Yeah. And I said to him, I said to him, I was like, hey, what's this? And he said, oh, no, it's great. On Mary Poppins Returns, they put my hardest number in the first week, and we really got it under my belt, and it was great for the rest of the thing. I was like, shut the fuck up. He's like, oh, don't bullshit. What's going on? No human would do this to another human. And he said, well, we're going to lose the location unless we do it the first week. I was like, thank you for your honesty. And let's try. And the two things were true. Like, it did feel incredibly good to get under the old belt, and it was downhill from there. And also, but also, Tom Hanks got COVID the week after that, and the NBA shut down. And then we were like, maybe it's coming for us. And then everything shut down for months. So I'm so glad that we got that number done before a 5-month hiatus where I would have just been worried about it every single day. So yeah, there's some strange blessing. But Why? It's a hard song. It's a really hard song.
And then undeniably one of the most joyful songs is Sunday, and that has so many fun Broadway stars stuff in that number. Can you just talk to us about what it was like filming that, and were you intimidated by all of the Broadway legends that were going to be in that number?
Oh yeah, it was beautiful, because Lynn's idea for that was just so pure and so beautiful, because that song is here being an homage to Sondheim and Sunday Park and George, but John's version had only ever been sung by John in a small black box theatre or in his apartment and belting it out solo, right? And Lynn's idea was, I want wherever John is in the cosmos to be able to hear this song performed by the kind of the dream choir of his, kind of hopes and wishes, all the theatre legends, the past, present, and future, some that he didn't get to meet, some that he revered, and he put together this kind of choir in the name of John, so that John could. I just find that so beautiful. And then the challenge, there were some major challenges in doing it because it was in the middle of COVID, and no one wants to kill Joel Grey. Like, it was too scary. So everyone had to quarantine, and then it was all plated. So the shot there, hardly anyone was in the same frame at any given time. So it's all visual effects, locked off shots. So each actor was plated in place and had their own individual period of time where they could be on set alone without being surrounded and getting anyone else sick. So it was a technical challenge for sure. And also there's a lyric in the first verse where I have to say, "Sit the fools who should eat at home." and every time I came to do it, I'm looking at Joel Grey and I'm like, my body crumples and I have to say cut. Because there's no, and I turned to Liz, take 12 and I'm just blowing it in front of all my heroes. Because I can't get through the line, because I just can't call the fools. And I say to Lynn, this sequence, how you designed it, is not going to work. Because Jonathan and myself, being the channel and vessel for Jonathan, can only perform truth. Would never call these people fools. So I love the idea, it's sweet, but we must send all of these legends home. We must populate the diner with just people that I don't know and I can be angry at. And he said, "Okay, buddy, I think you're having a mental breakdown. Let's go for a walk." And he said, and I was freaking out, as actors do, and it was just my own freak out this film, which is unusual. One freak out is not bad for me. And he said, "Oh, buddy, you don't know that they're all legends. You don't know that that's, Gina Rivera. She's just an annoying person, Oh, acting. Okay, yeah, acting." And then we were fine. But then I was like, we have to make sure we do something different with Bernadette because, we have to break the fourth wall with Bernadette. There's no way that I can pretend not to know who Bernadette is as Jonathan Larson. You just keep watching her as like, "Oh, sure." And he was like, "Great." And so we made that moment the kind of the real deep honoring. And also how great I was the channel, the vessel for every single person who's ever loved Bernadette Peters, but we never get to tell her through me at that point. To be the kind of the audience going, "Thank you for everything you've given us." It was just a beautiful moment.
And you mentioned there was a pause in production when the world essentially shut down. And when cameras started rolling again, movie sets were very strict on masks and testing, and I know it was very rigid, very calculated, but were you guys able to incorporate moments of levity? Were you still able to have fun when you had all these COVID protocols around you?
Yeah, it actually became much more of a necessity. And I think because, actors and, everyone in our industry at that time had been deemed as not essential for 5 months, we came back pretty fucking angry about that. And longing to show them how essential we are. But no, I kind of mean that because, we were all sat doing our duty during that period of time, and we were all so. I think there was so much social unrest. There was a revolution happening in the streets, and I was in the city while in the wake of the George Floyd murder, and it suddenly felt like Jonathan's work and Jonathan's lyrics and his music were more prescient than ever, and more vital than ever, and more reflective of the times we're in than ever, and more full of prophecy than ever. And everything that he was about ethically felt entirely even more focused. The fact that he was writing during an epidemic, the AIDS epidemic, and now we're making this film during a pandemic, it became too synchronistic to ignore. And then when we came back to work, yes, it was pre-vaccine, so we had all the PPE and just lots of control so that we could get to do our work and make this film. But then, the time between action and cut, as we all know, is sacred. But then it became even more sacred because the actors got to take off their masks and got to breathe the same air for the first time as other people did for the first time in 5 months. And the longing for connection, the longing to tell this story, it just all felt so perfect and so pained and so beautiful and so joyful. Like, I remember the scene, one of my favorite scenes of the party, kind of early on in John's apartment, the Boho Days party, which I think is just such a sweet sequence. At the end of, we did the song, the kind of improvised song, and then at the end of the night, Lynn was like, we have 35 minutes left. Have a party, we will film it. Take your masks off, and make out, and dance, and breathe the same time, grab each other, grind on each other, make it like cabaret, just get into the contraband of the physical affection, and we are allowed to do it in 35 minutes and just go at it. And it felt like such a beautiful relief. So yeah, that was kind of amazing actually, that it kind of created even more energy between action and cut, and even more kind of longing and yearning. But I think it comes through in this film, like a real kind of a lust for living, a lust to be here as fully as possible. Another thing that obviously John was in touch with was the shortness, the awareness of the shortness and sacredness of life. And it's threaded through all of his work, and it's threaded in him. He just had this awareness. And I think it makes life more alive. It makes every moment more precious, obviously, when we're aware that it's going to end at some point.
Mm.
And you mentioned that you were in touch with his sister, Julie Larson, and I was wondering, were you able to talk to her after you were nominated for an Oscar, and what was it like to be able to share that with her when Jonathan was not able to share the success of his own shows?
Yeah, I mean, the big part, most of the cake goes to John. It's so beautiful to be able to give him his harvest and his flowers now, wherever he may be. Doing talks like this, it just feels like a continuation of being able to keep his ripples of his work and what he stood for moving through the world. Judy and I remain really close, and we talk a lot, we text a lot. She is, I remember that it's funny, of course she was so excited and happy and supportive of the nomination and all of that. It was a beautiful thing to share with her, and it is hers as much as it's anyone else's and Lynn's and this whole company. But I remember on the night in the premiere here in New York, and we were at the after party, we were just crying, having a nice hug, and I said to her, God, I wish he was here. And she said, oh God, if you had known him, you would have gotten over that pretty damn quick. And I think it's that spirit that really comes through in the film as well. So we never, she wouldn't let us lionize him or idealize him or kind of make him out to be some saint of musical theatre. He was a pain in the ass, and I think he comes across that way as well. It's so beautiful to be able to shoot. And this is it's such a cliche thing to say, and as people say it, I usually don't mean it, but it's the boy who cried wolf. This is a family, this is a real community, and it's one that Lynn built, inspired by the way that John built community. John was all about that. And he was a socialist. he was just for the many, not the few. And so I think all that spirit comes across the film.
All right, well, thank you so much. It was so great to talk.
Woo! See you at the show.